The terminal buzzed with the quiet efficiency of a weekday, morning-polished floors reflecting the gentle glare of skylights, cushioned seats half-filled with executives scrolling through emails, and attendants in pressed uniforms tapping rhythmically on keyboards. It was the kind of place where appearances carried weight, where designer luggage and tailored suits were often treated as boarding passes themselves. At precisely 9:17 a.m., the glass doors at the front of Terminal 6 slid open with a soft hiss, and a woman stepped through. Her sneakers bore scuff marks from years of wear. Her jeans were faded at the knees, and her black hoodie had a quiet resilience to it, like it had been through long nights and early mornings. Slung over one shoulder was a canvas tote bag with a water bottle peeking out and what looked to be a homemade sandwich wrapped in foil inside. She walked with intention, though not arrogance, just the kind of calm confidence born from long days building something from nothing. But that wasn't what the staff saw. "Ma'am," the man behind the desk said with a tight smile, "this area is for first or private jet passengers only." "I know," she said simply, her voice calm, her tone polite. The woman behind the desk raised an eyebrow. "Then why are you here?" She nodded toward the runway visible through the wide glass panels. "I'm flying private." The desk agent looked her over again, this time more openly skeptical. He leaned toward his co-worker and muttered something under his breath, something the woman clearly heard. She didn't flinch. "You're flying private?" he said louder, lips curling upward into a smirk. "Sure, and I'm the President of the United States." She offered him a gentle smile. "Maybe check the manifest." A third staffer, who had been leaning against the back wall scrolling through his phone, snorted. "Should we just tell her to wait in the public lounge?" But in exactly 10 minutes, the sound of twin jet engines rolling across the tarmac would eclipse every doubt and chuckle in that room. The woman's name was Adriana Velez, and she didn't just fly on that jet. She owned it. The name Velez Interlink was printed in elegant gold letters across the fuselage, barely visible against the pearlescent white finish unless you looked from the right angle under the morning sun. To the world, it was one of many sleek private charters crossing coasts for unseen deals. But to those who knew, it was the crown jewel of a logistics empire that stretched from Puerto Rico to Phnom Penh. Adriana, 34, was a Puerto Rican-American business magnate and self-made millionaire whose company had revolutionized how emergency medical and infrastructure supplies were delivered in crisis zones. What she built had reshaped how aid reached people in the world's most desperate hours after hurricanes, wildfires, earthquakes, and wars. She didn't do it for recognition. She did it because she'd once stood barefoot in the wreckage of her childhood home after a storm and vowed to never let logistics be the reason someone else suffered. Her base of operations was San Diego. But today, she was in Los Angeles, headed to a high-stakes meeting in New Yucatan International Development Summit, where her contracts could lead to expanded operations across the Caribbean and Africa. She had no entourage, no press coverage, no designer lagi. Just her notes, and the determination that had carried her through every door slammed in her face. She entered the terminal at 9:20 a.m., a full 40 minutes ahead of departure. The two attendants behind the desk were barely alert. One looked up from a clipboard, the other from a tablet. "Yes," the woman said with disinterest. "I have a 10 a.m. departure from this terminal. Jet's on runway 4. The male attendant squinted. "What's your name?" "Adriana Velez." The woman's posture shifted. "Velez?" As in Velez Interlink," Adriana replied, calm as ever. The man scoffed. "You're that Adriana Velez?" She nodded. "Look," he said, his tone turning patronizing, "we've had a lot of people get creative trying to sneak into this terminal. You're going to need either credentials or a verified pilot clearance." Adriana quietly reached into her bag and produced a sealed folder. Inside were her credentials, FAA clearance, international identification, aircraft manifest, and authorization codes. The female attendant snatched the folder and scanned the documents with visible disbelief. They were genuine, but that wasn't enough. The two exchanged looks like they were trying to solve a riddle that made no sense. "You just don't look like the people we usually see flying out of here," the man finally said. Adriana didn't answer. She simply walked to a nearby chair, sat down, pulled out her phone, and began reviewing her notes. She typed calmly, as though the entire interaction had bounced off her like rain on stone. At 9:58, the automatic doors at the rear of the terminal opened with a low beep. 3 tarmac agents marched onto the field, heading toward the aircraft, now idling with a soft mechanical purr. The jet had just taxied in from hangar storage, its engines gleaming, its surfaces freshly polished. The Voles logo glinted like a crown under the rising sun. The pilot approached the front desk. "Is MS Voles ready?" he asked professionally. The attendants blinked. "You're here for her?" "Yes. Owner's priority. Everything's pre-cleared." Silence spread across the terminal like a fog. Adriana stood up, zipped her tote, and nodded to the pilot. As she passed the counter, the male attendant swallowed nervously. "MS Voles, about earlier. It's fine," she interrupted, locking eyes with him. "You didn't recognize me. But that wasn't the issue, was it? It wasn't about who I was. It was about what I looked like." He looked away. Adriana continued walking. But just before she reached the tarmac doors, she paused and turned. "Next time someone walks through here dressed simply, don't assume they don't belong. You might be standing in the presence of someone who owns more than just the jet, maybe the very future of this business." Then she walked out. The wind from the tarmac swept across her hoodie as she boarded the aircraft. Her footsteps were steady, unhurried. No bravado, just quiet certainty. What the staff didn't know was that one of the maintenance crew working on a nearby hangar had recorded a short video, clipped 30 seconds of Adriana being dismissed by the desk agents, followed by the stunned silence as her jet rolled up. He posted it on social media with the caption, "Airport staff laugh at woman in hoodie, stunned when her private jet arrives." Her name's printed on the plane. The video exploded online overnight. Milio Watshed. The comments lit up. She didn't argue. She didn't flex. She just walked on her jet. Puerto Rican excellence in silence. Watch her walk like she owns the sky, because she does. Imagine mocking someone who literally owns the runway you're standing on. By morning, the video had crossed 5 million views. The airport issued a quiet internal directive about diversity and sensitivity retraining. The 2 attendants were quietly reassigned to different posts. But Adriana didn't respond to the video. She had no comment, no media statement, no tweet. She was too busy finalizing shipment routes for post-hurricane aid in the Gulf, coordinating warehouses across 2 continents, and launching a new scholarship initiative for first-generation immigrant girls pursuing careers in logistics and engineering. Later that night, in New York, she sat across from a group of global investment partners. The meeting room overlooked Manhattan's skyline. One of the executives, a European man with sharp glasses and a sharper tone, asked, "Why do you still travel alone? No media team? No handlers?" Adriana smiled softly, setting down her coffee. "Because I learn the most when people don't know who I am," she said. "And because I don't need to be seen to make an impact." The room fell quiet as she began her presentation, confident, composed, and utterly in command. No one questioned her credentials again. 2 weeks later, Adriana returned to that same terminal in Los Angeles. Same time, same tote bag, same worn jeans. But this time, a new staff member greeted her at the counter with a warm smile. "MS Voles, your aircraft is ready. We're honored to have you with us." She smiled in return, her eyes kind. Because respect should never be something earned through logos or wealth. It should be offered through decency and presence. And the next time someone in simple clothes walks through a set of polished glass doors, remember, you might be standing in front of someone who doesn't just fly the skies. They own them.